Hello, welcome to Indus News live from Islamabad. I'm Raja Saroj Sahib and these are the headlines. In Pakistan, 4 security personnel have been martyred and 20 people injured in a suicide bomb blast on a checkpost of paramilitary forces in Quetta city. Prime Minister Imran Khan has condemned the attack, which is claimed by a terrorist group, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. National Security Advisor Moeed Yusuf says India has been sponsoring TTP and other terrorists and it must be held accountable for that. The Taliban claim to have captured all parts of PANJSHIR Valley except the provincial capital of Bazarak and Rokha district. A Taliban spokesperson said clearing operations are underway in the conquered districts. Meanwhile, Taliban leader Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar said the group is in the process of forming an inclusive government. At least 13 police officers have been killed in an ISIS attack in Iraq's northern Kirkuk governorate. Security forces say the militants attacked federal police troops in the Al Rashid district of the governorate. That's all with the headlines. We'll be right back with the details. Welcome back after the break. In Pakistan, 4 security personnel have been martyred and 19 people injured in a suicide bomb blast in Quetta city. Authorities said the suicide bomber targeted a paramilitary fort checkpost on Mastung Road.
Police said the suicide bomber had rammed his motorcycle into the vehicle of a law enforcement agency parked near the checkpost. They said the wounded have been transferred to a nearby hospital, with many of them critical. Prime Minister Imran Khan has condemned the attack, which is claimed by the outlawed terrorist group Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. In a tweet, Khan praised the security forces for their sacrifices and for thwarting foreign-backed terrorist design. National Security Advisor Moeed Yusuf says India has been sponsoring TTP and other terrorists and it must be held accountable for that.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has slammed India for filing an FIR against the family of deceased Hurriyat leader Sayyid Ali Gilani. In a tweet, Khan said snatching deceased Gilani's body was just another shameful example of India's descent into fascism.
Khan said the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's BJP and RSS government is inspired by the Nazis. Meanwhile, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said it is shameful how India is trying to intimidate Gilani's grieving family. The Jammu and Kashmir police said Gilani's relatives wrapped his body in a Pakistani flag and raised anti-India slogans. Following Gilani's demise, his body was forcibly taken away by police and government officials. Gilani's son said they were not allowed to conduct the last rites of their father. Gilani, who spent 20 years of his life in prison, passed away on Wednesday after prolonged illness.
Now we're joined by Dr. Mujahid Gilani, grandson of Sayyid Ali Gilani. Thank you for your time. Indian police have filed an FIR against the family of deceased Hurriyat leader Sayyid Ali Gilani. Is New Delhi still afraid of Gilani even after his death?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. You see, you need to understand that the Indian occupation works in a very subtle way. Indian occupation works in a way that needs to strengthen its occupation. And this is what India currently is doing, handing over the dead body of the greatest Hurriyat leader, Sayyid Ali Gilani, to the people of Kashmir would have created a havoc in the Indian parliament and the Indian authorities. And that is the most important reason that the Indian authorities never let the people even go near to the dead body. And the dead body was essentially buried in the dead of the night without the knowledge of even a single family member. And this is one of the clearest, I believe, examples where India once again has shown that a staunch and a stable voice against India and backing the United Nations resolution for the right of self-determination of Kashmiris is what India is always feared of.
Right. Mr. Mujahid, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has slammed India for its shameful act and called Prime Minister Narendra Modi's BJP government Nazis-inspired. What is your take?
See, I believe that Pakistan needs to take it even more boldly. Sayyid Ali Gilani, given his whole life, his 92 years of life for Pakistan primarily, for what we call as a Pakistan, we are Pakistanis and Pakistan is ours. This was a slogan all over his life, particularly in the past 10 to 11 years where he was kept under house arrest. An old man of 82 years old. I believe Pakistan needs to take it even more boldly. I understand that the Premier Imran Khan has definitely taken it up on Twitter, but Pakistan needs to take it diplomatically at the United Nations front, as well as other fronts, other forums where this issue, particularly this, that the last rituals of Sayyid Ali Gilani could not be performed in a proper way. This needs to be highlighted.
All right, now Sayyid Ali Gilani's sons say that Indian authorities did not allow them to conduct the last rites of their father. Now the international community must perceive it as this is outright denying decency of burial to the deceased and is against basic human rights. What do you have to say?
See, one of the most important things, again, we need to understand is that India is working on the same plan as it did with Ashraf Khan Sehrai Shaheed. Once Ashraf Khan Sehrai Shaheed was buried, an FIR was launched against his family as well. And at this point in time, we know and understand that the family was never involved in the burial of Sayyid Ali Gilani, one. And two, even if the family did resist against the Indian occupation and the forces that they wanted to bury Sayyid Ali Gilani during the daylight so that the family and the friends and the people of Jammu and Kashmir could actually join in the funeral. And that is what should have happened. But that unfortunately could not. Right at point this time, we understand and know that the Indian authorities have launched an FIR against the family as well. And the irony is the family has been blamed of actually not giving or handing over the body of Sayyid Ali Gilani or wrapping him in the Pakistani flag. Today, we must understand and know that the Indian occupation, the Indian oppression is at its extreme. India wants to break the Kashmiris not only militarily, but also psychologically. And this is what India is doing.
Right, Dr. Mujahid Gilani, grandson of Sayyid Ali Gilani, thank you for talking to Indus News. The Taliban claim to have captured all parts of PANJSHIR Valley except the provincial capital Bazarak and Rokha districts. A Taliban spokesperson said clearing operations are underway in the conquered districts.
There has been claim and counterclaim, but neither Taliban nor resistant forces could produce conclusive evidence to prove it. The resistance front said about 600 Taliban were killed and over 1,000 captured or surrendered. The Taliban, on their part, has said they are advancing into the last holdout province. Meanwhile, Taliban leader Mullah Abdul Ghani Brother said the group is in the process of forming an inclusive government. Taliban official Anamullah Saman Ghani also said the new Afghan government will be announced very soon. It comes as a top US general, Mark Milley, said Afghanistan will likely erupt in civil war, warning that it could lead to resurgence of terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS in the country. Speaking at Ramstein Air Base in Germany, Milley also thanked U.S. troops for their role in Afghanistan evacuation. Roughly 124,000 people were evacuated from Kabul in the massive U.S.-led airlift after the Taliban took control.
For more on this, we're joined by Sitara Ayaz, a political analyst. Sitara, thank you for your time. The Taliban and the resistance forces in PANJSHIR are both making victory claims. The valley has never been captured before by the US, Soviet, or even the Taliban. Do you think these forces can resist the Taliban fighters in this battle?
As you said, the valley has never been captured by anyone, and now the resistance is there again for Taliban. It will not be over soon, it will take some time, even if Taliban has a victory. Because if you see the PANJSHIR topography and the history, the whole history, it's always difficult. It's always difficult to capture that area. Now, what I feel is that only through negotiation that can be solved. Today I was going through some international media, and over there I saw Ahmed Karzai statement that he also gave his view that there should be negotiations and they should sit on a table, because otherwise there will be more bloodshed, which is not good for the Afghanistan, for Afghanistan general public. So there should be a negotiation, and the people of Afghanistan, like the leader in Afghanistan, they should try to solve this problem, and they should come up with the suggestion and with their help, as I said that Ahmed Karzai's today's statement also about this. So I believe that if there is no negotiation between them, and if the problem is not solved, it will be there will be a resistance over there in future.
All right, Sitara, now we have been hearing that Afghan government will be announced soon. Taliban leader Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar said the group is in the process of forming an inclusive administration. When do we expect the official announcement of this, and how inclusive do you believe it would be?
So far, what we are hearing from their political leadership and their pressers, that soon, and we are expecting maybe in a week, 10 days, they are going to announce. And according to them, it's a very positive, actually, what they are saying, that it will be inclusive, and many other the political parties will join, and especially the women. They also mentioned that women will also be a part of their government, which is very positive, and we welcome their statement, and we are looking forward what they are saying, because now it's a time that they should act, because the world is waiting for their decision. The world is everywhere. You can see the media is always full of Afghan issue, and many are talking negative against them. But now what they are saying so far is very positive, but I think they should act quickly, because the time is flying, and if they are not able to announce it quickly, there will be more problems for them, as there is a big problem of PANJSHIR already for them in the country. So they have to announce, and if it is inclusive, which we feel that what they say, they will follow that, it will stop internationally the negative propaganda, what is against them. And even we are also waiting over here that the neighboring countries, all the neighboring countries are waiting for their decision, that what their decision will be. So I hope that in a week or 10 days, they will be having their cabinet.
All right, so why Indian media and the government is so concerned by the presence of Pakistani intelligence agencies Director General in Afghanistan, while the world is praising Pakistan's efforts for peace in the country?
Well, very good question. Since yesterday, I'm enjoying all these India media channels, the way they are they are screaming all the time on this thing. Just think that why India is trying to, they are trying to meet the Taliban leaders, why they are sending their teams to meet in Doha with the Taliban leaders. This is like diplomacy you have to do, and we have a long border with Afghanistan. We have concerns about Afghanistan. They are our neighbors. They are our brotherly country. So what if our chief went and I think he didn't say anything, but he just went there. He'll be meeting our the embassy people, maybe giving them some instruction. This newly coming up government of Taliban, if they are able to announce soon, we have to have our own diplomatic relations with them. So what is harm if he is there? But believe me, we all are over here, the serious people over here, we are enjoying what they are saying. Like, they're just out of their, like, as a neighbor. If we go and even if we help now, if they after like their government formation, what is harm in it? So let them whatever they are saying, and I think in a coming future, like what ISI said, that wait and see. They should wait and see what will come up next.
All right, Sitara Ayaz, thank you for talking to Indus News. Moving on, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says the opportunity to finally put an end to the Afghan conflict must be seized. He was speaking to the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres over the phone. The Prime Minister once again highlighted the importance of an inclusive political settlement in Afghanistan. He underscored the need for an international community to become more engaged with Afghanistan. Khan also reaffirmed Islamabad's full support for the smooth operation of the UN humanitarian mission in Afghanistan. Earlier, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi talked to his Iranian counterpart Hossein Amir Abdullahian. Abdullahian lauded Islamabad's concerted efforts for a coordinated strategy on Afghanistan. At least 13 police officers have been killed in an ISIS attack in Iran's northern KIRKUK governorate. Security forces say the militants attacked federal police troops in Al-Rashad district of the governorate. A senior Iraqi police officer said 3 others were wounded. However, there was no immediate claim of responsibility. Militant cells regularly target the Iraqi army and the police in the northern Iraq, but this was one of the deadliest attacks of the year. The Arab coalition says it has thwarted ballistic missile and drone attacks launched by Yemen's Houthi rebels towards Saudi Arabia. This comes a day after coalition air defenses intercepted 3 Houthi drones. In a statement, coalition spokesperson Brigadier General Turki al-Maliki said all missiles and drones were destroyed over the Mam, Najran and Jazan cities. However, he said the failing debris from the intercepted missiles injured 2 minors and damaged 14 houses in the Mam. Meanwhile, the Saudi Defense Ministry said it will take all deterrent measures to protect its lands and civilians under the international humanitarian law. However, the Houthi rebels claim to have attacked the Aramco facilities. Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi says that Iran is ready to hold talks with world powers to revive its 2015 nuclear deal, but not under Western pressure. In an interview with state television, Raisi said previous attempts of applying pressure along with negotiations did not generate results. He said that Iran is seeking talks leading to a lifting of US sanctions. Raisi asserted Iran will not take a single step back from the interests of its people. The Iranian president also said events in Afghanistan showed the US is a disruptive influence around the world. He said the solution for Afghanistan is to establish a government with the vote and will of the people. It's time for a break. We'll be right back with the details in just a bit. Welcome back. The number of global coronavirus infections has topped 220 million with over 4.56 million deaths. Mexico has reported 647 deaths and more than 15,000 cases overnight. More in this report.
Vaccines and restrictions have so far proven to be the best tool to eliminate coronavirus. But both continue to face resistance from the masses. In the US, medical staff at a main hospital say they are struggling to cope with the surge in unvaccinated, critically ill COVID patients. Nurses say in the past they mostly treated elderly patients or those with pre-existing conditions, but recently they have been inundated with otherwise healthy patients in their 40s and 50s. Over in Southern America, Brazil has suspended the use of over 12 million doses of vaccine developed by China's Sinovac Biotech. Federal health regulator Anvisa said the doses were produced in an unauthorized plant. Meanwhile, in Argentina, hundreds protested the government's handling of the pandemic and laid rocks near the Casa Rosada to represent the more than 112,000 people who died from COVID-19 in the country.
We want this place to become a museum of memory, like the other museums that remind us of this country's tragedies. I want this to end because I'm sick and tired of this government.
As vaccine discrepancies grow, so does the criticism, latest by the former British Prime Minister Gordon Brown. He accused rich countries of committing a moral outrage by stockpiling doses, while poor countries are struggling to get supplies. Brown, who is a UN Special Envoy, said Western countries are hoarding nearly 300 million shots while only 70 million people in Africa have so far been vaccinated. Over in Paris, police made several arrests as thousands took to the streets against health pass for the 8th consecutive weekend. Led by far-right politician Florian Philippot, protesters chanted for President Emmanuel Macron to resign.
We must also act with wisdom. Therefore, really disinfect the hands, respect the measures, but we shouldn't abuse it and lock people up because there is a virus. There are diseases much more serious and people die. They get infected in different ways. We must not react with fear. This is not normal.
Japan is set to extend a state of emergency in and around Tokyo until the last week of September. In Australia, New South Wales state reported 3 deaths overnight, while authorities said 175 people are in the intensive care unit. New Zealand logged 20 local cases, the same as the previous day, giving authorities more confidence that they're gaining a winning hand over the current outbreak of Delta variant.
Meanwhile, Pakistan has reported 61 deaths from coronavirus over the past 24 hours. The Health Ministry says the fatality toll has jumped to 26,175. It said the virus infected over 3,700 people overnight. The country's caseload has exceeded 1.17 million, while over a million people have recovered. Over 92,000 cases are active in the country, of which 5,500 are critical. The positivity rate of infections has risen to 6.47%. Meanwhile, Minister for Planning, Asad Umar, has urged people to follow the SOPs and get themselves vaccinated. In Australia, a surfer has died after being bitten by a shark off a surfing beach on the east coast. The Emerald Beach in the north of Coffs Harbour was closed after the incident. Medics said bystanders and other emergency services did their best to help the man. The surfer was believed to be in his late 20s and was bitten in the arm. Australia ranked behind only the US in the number of unprovoked shark encounters with humans in 2019. The White House says US President Joe Biden will visit all 3 sites of 9/11 attacks to mark the 20th anniversary of the assault. Biden will honor 3,000 people killed in the most lethal terrorist attack on US soil. Biden and First Lady will visit New York City, where 2 airliners destroyed the World Trade Center and killed over 2,700 people. They will also go to the Pentagon, Arlington, Virginia, where a 3rd airliner had crashed. The 2 will visit Shanksville in Pennsylvania, where passengers forced down a 4th aircraft believed to have been headed to the U.S. Capitol. Earlier, Biden ordered the Justice Department to review the documents from the FBI's probe into the attacks for release last month. Many families asked Biden to skip 20-year memorial events unless he declassified documents. The U.S. Coast Guard says a private dive team will try to locate the source of a suspected oil spill spotted in the Gulf of Mexico. Earlier satellite images showed a brownish-black slick spreading in waters about 2 miles off Port Fortune in Louisiana. A Coast Guard spokesperson said authorities will work on a recovery and source control plan later. The energy company Talos said it believes it is not responsible for the oil in the water. The Bay Merchant spill in one of several reported environmental hazards in Louisiana and the Gulf following Hurricane Ida. Louisiana, an oil and gas hub, was hit by powerful Ida hurricane that wreaked havoc in the region this week. And across the U.S. West this summer, helicopters buzzed low and herd thousands of wild horses into gated areas. The roundups are made necessary by the devastating effects of wildfire and drought. More in this report.
Climate change is endangering the iconic wild horses, livestock, and other wildlife. The dire situation in U.S. western lands has led to an unprecedented dialogue between horse rights activists, the cattle industry, and the Bureau of Land Management. Horse defenders have long hated the helicopter-led roundups, called gathers, by the Bureau of Land Management. Wild horses are herded into corrals and then brought to long-term grazing facilities, mostly in the Midwest. A smaller number are also put up for adoption. But faced with dwindling water and plant resources, some rights activists have accepted the roundups as necessary evil when faced with climate change.
The greatest threat to our wild horses and burros and our public lands right now isn't the BLM. It's not cattle ranching interests, it's not mining interests, it's not animal advocates, it's climate change. And that new reality is fast sort of settling in.
The activists are advocating a mix of roundups and fertility control measures to sustain the population of wild horses. The population of wild horses has grown from an estimated 30,000 in 2013 to nearly 80,000. The Coalition of Animal Rights, the Path Forward group, favor using contraception aggressively so that the population achieves a sustainable level. They hope as contraceptive measures ramp up and the number of wild horses gradually stabilizes, the roundups are eased out. According to land management authorities, horses' populations are so large that vaccines alone cannot bring the size down.
The challenge in the short term is that's not going to reduce populations. It allows us to work in places where there are stable populations at sustainable levels, and then we can use the fertility control to be able to support that herd at a sustainable level and avoid the need for more gathers.
However, the Path Forward's approach has been vehemently attacked by some activists. The American Wild Horse Campaign opposes roundups except in emergency situations and believes that horses should receive fertility control vaccinations in their natural habitat. The group's director dismisses the notion that horses should bear the burden of the West's hard time.
In London, Banksy's famous artwork Love is in the Bin has returned to the auction room to be sold in October this year. More in this report.
Banksy is a pseudonymous England-based street artist whose real name and identity remain unconfirmed and the subject of speculation. Active since the 1990s, his satirical street art and subversive epigrams combine dark humor with graffiti executed in a distinctive stenciling technique. His latest artwork is up for auction. According to Sotheby's European chairman Oliver Barker, the value of the iconic piece has increased since it became famous in 2018. Barker also said that Banksy's artwork market commercially has also grown exponentially. Barker said work will be displayed briefly in London at Sotheby's New Bond Street galleries and Barker as people are keen to see it on display. Earlier in 2018, Banksy's work, titled Girl with Balloon, had final bid of $1.38 million despite alteration and the artwork. The artwork Love is in the Bin will travel to Hong Kong, Taipei and New York before the London sale on 14th of October.
Italian stunt pilot Darlo Costa has become the first to officially fly an aircraft within a tunnel in Turkey. More about this fascinating record in this report.
Professional race and stunt pilot Dario Costa of Italy has written a new chapter in aviation history, as he flew a racing plane through the narrow confines of two enclosed auto tunnels just outside Istanbul. Costa, who was flying a specially modified Safco H 540 aircraft, was overjoyed at his achievement.
Very emotional, very emotional. It's just, it's more than 1 year that we're working on this project, and then you get it done. Till it's not done, you don't know. You don't know what to expect. You don't know if it's gonna go good.
Costa took off within the first tunnel, maintaining an altitude of less than 1 meter with solid concrete on all sides. After emerging, he then entered and flew through the second tunnel at an average speed of 245 kilometers per hour. When the race plane shot out of the other side, the Italian pulled it into a celebratory loop before landing.
I never flown in a tunnel in my life. Nobody ever done it. So there was a big question mark in my head if everything would have been like we expected, or there would have been something to improvise, improvising. So it was a big relief, of course, but big happiness. That was the biggest emotion of the two.
From takeoff to exiting the second tunnel, the flight covered a distance of 2.26 kilometers. And in less than 44 seconds, Dario Costa had set a certified Guinness World Record plus 4 more.
In China, Mid-Autumn Festival Gala's organizers are striving to present the highest quality lights and sound effects for the audience. More in this report.
This year, China Media Group's gala has adopted a panoramic stage with immersive effects. Whether it is a panoramic, medium shot or close-up shot, lively light designs will create romance among other styles of atmospheres for the shows with 360-degree multiple lighting. On the upper side of a city wall surrounding an ancient tree on the main stage lies a sound control area of the gala. Here organizers can see every corner of the stage. During every minute of the show recording, staffers must carefully polish the sound effects.
The stage is very large with many speakers at distance. There will be delay in sound transmission due to the far distance. So we have put some small speakers of point sound source at some inconspicuous position near the stage and not too far from it.
Meanwhile, behind the scenes, staffers endeavor to improve stage designs for the various performances. At the same time, performers are looking to tell a good story of reunion to show the traditional joyful atmosphere of the festival.
It's time to have a look at the weather situation around the world. That's all from the news studios. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.